Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
As an author, how important is it to you to preserve history, especially your personal family history, your identity? Well, today I have a guest, Liisa Kovala. Liisa is a Finnish-Canadian author, teacher for many, many years. She is an award-winning author, podcaster, certified book coach, retreat writer, organizer, and many other things. So Liisa, please join me up here on stage.
How are you? Nice to see you again.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a little while.
Well, Liisa, why don't you tell the audience, just in a minute or two, a little bit about your background. I know you taught for a while, then you became a writer, then you became this, you became that, and you became something else. So why don't you kind of wrap it up, and then we can kind of get right into the details of where things need to be.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'm in the second stage of my life. I'm writing now full time. I'm book coaching other women and having the best time. But like you said, I was a teacher for 28 years, teaching English and creative writing and research. And I loved it. But now it's just amazing to be at a different stage in my life where I can focus on the stuff that I really love, which is the writing and the helping other people write their books as well.
Okay, so you had 28 years, creative writing, English, etc. Then you start becoming an author. Is there something you've learned since you became an author that you wish you had known to tell people way back when?
Yeah, I think that the advice I give people always is start before you're ready. I wanted to write. I was a writer when I was a little kid. I always wrote. And then there was some point where I thought, all those doubts that you have, right? And you start doing other things and taking the safe route. But you just got to go and pursue the thing you want to do, whether it's writing or something else. You have to figure out what really motivates you, what's your passion. And so I always tell people, just go for it, start it. And, you can find your way.
Okay. You have kind of a unique area because of was it your grandfather or your?
Oh, it was my dad.
Your dad. Okay. He had kind of a raw deal coming out of World War II.
Yeah.
The Finnish nation obviously was devastated during World War II. And then you wrote a book about it, and then you kind of keep in that nonfiction, but you have other areas that you go into. But history seems to be an important topic to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, for sure. So my dad was a Finnish merchant marine sailor during the war. He was 16 years old. He told me his story when he was in his 80s, and we published that book. But like I said, I always wanted to be a writer. And so that was a nice inroads to writing for me. Like that story needed to be told. And I was, I didn't know enough information to be able to tell my own children about it. So we needed to tell that story. But I'm still so fascinated in my Finnish history, in my heritage, in all kinds of different events that have happened. So I started to lean towards writing historical fiction. So I could make up the characters, but I could deep dive into the history. So I can thank my dad for that, because he really helped me, learn how to write and become a writer, and because I wanted to tell his story. So there's kind of a full circle thing happening there.
Do you use AI at all to do research when you're going back into the histories?
Well, I didn't because it wasn't something that I needed to do. Like, it wasn't even available. I spent a lot of time, online finding articles and getting books and ordering those things. Now AI is kind of a game changer. So yes, I will go in and look something up, but then I'm always verifying because I don't really trust it quite yet to be able to tell me exactly the truth. But it is a good place to kind of get your feet wet and go, okay, these are some of the things that happened. I need to go look more deeply into that, find some authentic sources, such as firsthand accounts. I mean, you can't go to AI for firsthand accounts. You have to go to the books that were written by the people. And so I find I'm very tentative about AI. I'm not sure yet where we're headed with all of that.
Yeah. There was an author that I read several years ago, and the family had inherited volumes of letters and things over the years. And when the family originally moved here from the American Revolution, there was a series. There was a book they wrote on that with the family, and then it went through the Civil War, went through this, went through that. But basically, several generations of these letters. But the one that they didn't write about was part of the Civil War after post-Civil War. Well, it turned out that one of the people in that family was hired to be the court reporter at Robert E. Lee's court-martial, which most people never knew he was court-martialed. And in order to pay him for his services, he said, "I just like to have a copy of his report, the court report." And that he wrote a book on that. And that was the payment on. And so it's interesting how history gets preserved. You have firsthand account of people who were there. And if you're a court reporter, then you have some really firsthand accounts exactly what they said.
Incredible, right? Like all of those documents, I'm so happy people had the foresight to preserve them, like church records even. You can go so far back in history to find out about your family through church records. So it's like, yes, digitizing them is great for us because now we can just go online and search for those things and hopefully find a lot of like ship records and those kinds of things. But, the AI component of all that, I worry about how much of it is going to be manipulated or changed or, so the original documents are always the best thing to have if you can get them.
I'm going to assume most of your research is in English, but do you do some research in Finnish?
No, my Finnish isn't good enough for research in Finnish. I really wish it was better than it is. My vocabulary is so small. And so I can read a few sentences and then come across some language there that I'm like, okay, now I'm lost. So it's really unfortunate. But luckily, a lot of the research has been translated. And I mean, there's a good use of AI right there is the ability to translate a document. So you can really get a good sense of what something's about. So that's been helpful. But no, my Finnish is just not good.
Okay, so you wrote your first book. How long did it take?
So we started that in 2012 and we self-published it in 2015. Because originally we were just going to photocopy it and give copies to the family or maybe some friends who wanted it, go to the Staples, maybe put a binding on it. But we ended up having a lot of people interested in it. So I self-published it. And in 2017, it got picked up by a publisher and the publisher put it out again with a new cover and a new title, same book. And so it was really 3 years in the making, but then it's been, it's had a much longer life because it's reaching new audiences through the publisher and now through an audiobook as well, which my son is the narrator of, which is pretty cool to have my dad's story, my words, and my son's voice.
Well, that is neat. That is super neat. Yeah. So you wrote the book. How long did it take you to get it edited?
So I was really lucky because I was working at, I was doing a creative writing certificate at the University of Toronto, and I had a mentor, Marina Nemeth, who, I'm sorry, Marina actually was looked at the final version. Alison Latta worked with me as the mentor for that project. And so I got a feedback along the way, which is fantastic for a writer to get feedback as they're writing, because I was learning and changing and growing as a writer as I was writing. And then, of course, course, you get it edited after the final draft. And then, of course, when I had it published traditionally, I had another editor. And so, there's many, many rounds of this kind of developmental editing and, proof and copy editing and all of those stages. So it's hard to know because it kind of evolved as we went along.
Okay, so your latest book, Like Water for Weary Souls, last year.
Yeah.
How fast did you write that one compared to the first one versus
Yeah.
the editing versus everything else? So obviously you learned a lot over time.
Yeah, for sure.
What, based on what you learned, what would you say is one or two really good lessons learned you pass on to other authors?
Yeah. So I think it's really important, whether you're traditionally published or self-publishing a novel or any book length project, is to get that kind of professional assistance, whether that's a book coach along the way, whether that's a really great editor for developmental editing at some stage in the process, like when you get to a place where you think, okay, I've done the best I can. Now I need some, an outside set of eyes to look at it and give me feedback and make those changes. Or at the end of the process, getting it copy edited, getting it line and copy edited, or also proofread when you have that final version. So, when I was first starting to write, it was all about just writing that book and getting his story down. And I was really concerned about writing his story accurately and portraying it exactly like the way he had experienced it as best as we could, because obviously a lot of time had passed. But for other writers, when you're starting those projects, you have to remember that we're really not solitary. We need other people along in that process, and you can get lots of help through. And whether you're experienced or you're a new writer, you can get assistance in working through those manuscripts and making them better.
Okay, you said your dad was in his 80s when you interviewed him, and how long did he live?
Until he was 90. So I'm really grateful because he didn't share those stories very much during his lifetime. Like he kind of, told some people this little story or that little story, but, he didn't talk about it much, as most people, kind of suppress those memories and stories. But by the time we got to working on the project, his memory was still quite good. But then down the road, a few years later, even, his memory started to go and he was suffering from dementia. So I'm really grateful that he agreed to do this project at a time before I think those memories would have disappeared to some extent. So, it was like a really bonding experience between myself and my dad, and just understanding what he went through. It really shapes who I am too, and how I approach life.
I can only imagine that must have been, as you say, a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the takeaways I got there is the fact that our elderly generation have a lot of memories. I wrote my dad's obituary. I said, like tears in the rain. That was the title of it, because it was a phrase in a movie that I really thought just kind of stuck with me, because you get all those memories, and if they pass, they're gone. There's just nothing there. So if they're written down as a conversation or recorded, then you at least have something.
That's right.
So you really captured something that kind of ignited a spark in you that went further. And, you weren't thinking of cozy mysteries or anything beyond the memoir at the beginning. Now, all of a sudden, you have a pen name, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you're helping other people write books, and you're organizing writing retreats, and you're award-winning many, many things. So what made you put your book up for an award, or was that the publisher?
So for the Like Water, I actually had a publicist who said, here's some possibilities. And, I thought, okay, well, I always tell other writers that, throw your hat in, you don't know. So I thought, okay, I'll take my own advice. And I threw my hat in the ring to see what would happen. And what you do, you throw your hat in, but then you forget you did it. And then when you get the email that you won an award, it's like, what? And to win one award for Like Water for Weary Souls was lovely. And then a little while later, I won a second award for the same book. And I thought, wait a minute, this is unheard of. And then recently I learned that I won a silver in the IPPY awards, which is amazing. So you don't know where things will lead you. Just give it a try and see what happens. And so I was shocked that this book has won 3 awards, but I'm very proud of it, and I'm grateful that readers are responding to it.
You use a word in one of your book titles, sisu. I'm not
Yes.
sure I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Perfect.
Tell us about that word.
Yeah, so sisu is such an important Finnish concept. It has been around for all time, I'm sure, but was, documented sort of 500 years ago. But it's a really integral idea in Finnish culture, and I grew up with it. I didn't even really realize until later that people didn't know what it was. But it's strength and courage and determination. But it's like beyond that idea of grit. We all know about what grit is, but it goes beyond that. If you don't think that you can achieve something, if there seems to be a roadblock, that there's no possibility of success, there's no possibility of winning the thing, or whatever it is happening, you do it anyway. You just keep going anyway. And I love that idea that it's not necessarily about the end game. It's about the continuing to push through, continuing to challenge yourself, face the challenges that are confronting you. So Finns are really known for having sisu, and that comes from their the Finnish Winter War between Finland and Russia, where a small country is faced with this big overpowering army and military armaments and all of those things. And yet they fought really valiantly against the Russians during the Winter War. So that sisu drove them forward, even though they didn't maybe think that they could win that war, right? So it's such an important concept. And I think we all have sisu within us. We can all access it. We can all use it.
Okay. We're coming up very closely now to a commercial break. Be about a minute. When we come back from the break, I want to talk about your covers. And so how do you get them designed? What do you finally decide on? We'll talk about the name of the book and any subtitles you might happen to have. So that's the direction I'd like to go after the commercial break. Okay.
That's great. Wonderful.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Red O'Loughlin here. We're back on the Corner Bookstore with Liisa Kovala. Liisa, please join me again.
Hello there.
Okay, we talked just briefly before the break about covers. So tell us about the evolution of your covers. Who does them? How do they get finalized? And your part in that process.
Yeah, it really depends on if you're traditionally published or self-published. So there's lots of options. For Surviving Studhof, which is the story about my dad, it was traditionally published, and the publisher had a designer create the cover, and basically that was it, right? There was no input on my part. By the time I wrote my second book with that publisher, which was Sisu's Winter War, and it's a novel, historical fiction, that cover I had more input. We had a discussion about what we might do with that. We ended up talking to a Finnish Canadian artist who's here in my hometown of Sudbury in Northern Ontario, and she does beautiful work with tapestries and thread and landscapes that are just gorgeous. And so we we asked her, could we use one of her artworks? And she agreed. And that became this really beautiful, unique cover. So that one I had some input into. When it came to like Water for Weary Souls, I was doing, there's the tapestry one. I was doing, I decided to self-publish like Water for Weary Souls. And that was like, how do I get a great cover? How do I find somebody? So I asked for input from different people. I know a lot of writers, and I had some discussions about it. I ended up finding Mark Karras, who is an amazing cover designer, through Readsy. So if anyone knows about Readsy, you can find all kinds of authorly support there. And he took the book and I kind of talked to him about what the book was about, and he designed this cover, and I felt like it's perfect. It really has that Northern Ontario feel. The murder happens at a creek. I have a crow that is often featured in that story, and I just felt like he captured it. So, it can be challenging to find a cover designer who's going to meet the challenges of your particular book. Some people make their own covers, and I applaud them if they have the design skills. I do not have those skills. So I will always hire somebody to do that work for me, because I think it's really important. Like we say, don't judge a book by its cover, but we do, right? Don't we? We like, it attracts us. So I think finding a professional who can do the work, that's the way to go.
It's interesting. I always used Fiverr.com to do my covers, and when clients wanted something, I would contract that out. My last cover, the first one that I've actually done, I used AI.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the first thing out of the block, other than some very minor tweaks on a couple letters. AI did, I thought, an exceptionally good job of generating a cover. Now, it does it as a PNG or as a JPEG. You still have to go to somebody to get the PDF done. Of course, then you need the back of the cover and stuff. But anyway, nice. So it doesn't sound monumental, but it satisfied you, which is the most important part, because as my mentor tells me, it's your responsibility. It's your book. It's your baby.
Yes.
Own it and live with it. So
agreed.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's an important point, because if you're traditionally published, you may or may not have any say in your cover at all, which is, they know their business. The publishers know how to market it. They know how, what their readership is looking for, like what are the trends. That's fine. But also when you're self-published, you have so many options. And I think that that's very, like, there's a lot of ownership there, and you can take pride in the work you do.
Okay. You said you have an audiobook your son did. Are your other books also being done?
So at the moment, I'm doing the audiobook for the first cozy mystery, which is called Hygge and Homicide. And my son is actually editing it because he's really good at the tech part of that. He's very good at voiceover, so he's giving me tips because I'm just learning. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk in doing it myself. Hopefully that works out, because I know professional audio book narrators, they are highly skilled individuals. So we'll see how that goes. So one book at a time, and we'll maybe more will go into that audiobooks, but we'll see.
Have you done any video trailers for your books?
Yeah, I actually had a friend here in town he's a graphic designer. He works on commercials for some big name companies, and he's really loves to do books as well, like trailers. So he created an amazing trailer for my book, which can be found on my website if anyone wants to check it out. It's really beautiful.
We as authors are very good at certain things. One of the things we're not good at, generally speaking, is marketing. We write our book, then we start marketing it. How have things changed since you wrote your first book with regard to marketing? I'm assuming you weren't marketing it much before the book was done, especially since things happened after the book and they came with new cover, new this. So what are you doing now, and how soon do you start marketing on your book when you're starting to write a new one?
Right. Yeah. So now I've learned so much about marketing, and I'm trying to learn more and promotion and connecting with audiences. So when I first started writing, like you say, it was just the focus was on writing the book, getting the book done, not thinking about the audience as much at the beginning as I should have. Now, if I was to do it again, I would approach it completely differently. At this point, I have a nice readership on Substack. My Substack is called Women Writing. And so I have a lovely group of people who read my newsletters, listen to my podcast, get updates on what's happening, and I'm promoting other writers. So I feel like that's a really good place to start for people. Make sure you have a newsletter that you can share with, an active, engaged audience. And beyond that, now when I'm putting out a book, I'm conscious that I need to share. Like, how are people going to know that you have a book if you don't tell them? So my shyness around that has kind of disappeared. I'm like, this is what I do. I write books, and if I don't tell you that it's out there, then you won't know. So I've sort of left aside that kind of imposter syndrome that we have at the beginning, because there are readers for our books, right? Maybe not everyone, but you will find your ideal reader. But you have to share about it, and do share, a little bit about your life or your dog or whatever else is happening in your life. Like, just become a good literary citizen. And actually, it's quite fun instead of like trying to sell your book all the time, which feels icky, right?
Icky, yes, it does feel that way because our brains aren't wired to accept that kind of stuff.
Right? Yeah.
But you, where's your primary social media channels?
So I would say Substack is my primary channel now. So between the newsletter there, and there's sort of a social media aspect to it, which is called Notes, and my podcast comes through Substack and out into the world. But I'm still on Instagram and Facebook. I'm still sharing in those platforms and letting people know, to pop over to Substack to read a newsletter or to watch the podcast. So those are kind of the main places where I'm posting about things and connecting with people. And I love it because, like Facebook and Instagram, sometimes we think about those places that they can be negative. You can find lots of, maybe negative comments. But I find the people who like to read and the people who love to write, the loveliest people. Like, it's just a nice environment, right? And you can communicate with your audience, and they'll say how much they loved your book, and it's like a great feeling. So it becomes less about, like, it's the social part of social media that we can lean into, right? The communication part of social media that is quite beautiful if you just stay away from those sites that are going to cause some distress. Unfollow those.
How often do you post?
It depends. I have because I have a Substack newsletter that goes out twice a week. I definitely post about those every week to make sure people know to go check it out. And then there's various events, or I'm on a podcast, or I've done an article. I'll post those to share them so that my audience is aware. And then I'm randomly posting on a walk or drinking coffee or find a great book that I love, like just the things about your day-to-day life. So I wouldn't say I'm on there all day long, but I will post once a day or once every few days. During the summer, maybe a little less, because I think we're all just like taking a little break, and that's probably wise.
Are you looking at publishing any of your books in a foreign language?
I haven't done that yet. Surviving Stutthof was picked up by Docendo in Finland and translated into Finnish by a publisher. So that was amazing. And that is out there. But the other books are not yet in a foreign language. And I've already started looking into that and what the possibilities are. So not yet. We'll see. I hope that will happen someday.
Anything besides Finnish, you think?
Yeah, I would love to translate it into French, maybe German, maybe Spanish. I think that would be like lovely to get it into other markets. So we'll see. But yeah, even if I could get some of my other books into Finnish, that would be very nice. I think that would be fun because it has so much Finnish content, but with a little bit of a twist because I'm in North America.
Yeah. So your books are primarily history, mostly family, and then you start venturing out into other worlds. Now you're talking about cozy mysteries. How did your brain transition from here to here to here. Oh, I'm over here now.
I don't know why my brain works this way, but it just does. I generally have several projects on the go at the same time. I have one that I'm planning, thinking about, writing, researching. I have one that I'm actively writing. And then I usually have one that I'm editing. So that's kind of the case right now. I have a book that is going to the editor this summer for those final edits. I have a book that I'm working on, the next cozy mystery. I'm writing it. And then I have a nonfiction book about sort of sleep rituals that I'm just researching right now. So I love to have lots of projects that I can kind of flip flop. And I spent 2 hours this morning researching. I'll spend another few hours this afternoon doing another aspect. Tonight I'll be writing some fiction. So I just like how you can move into different areas without feeling like, oh, this project is just, too much. Because as soon as you feel like, okay, I need a little break, there's something else to do over there. So that works for my brain.
There's an AI called Notebook LM. Are you familiar with that one?
I am. My husband introduced that one to me. Yes.
I'm finding that one to be very, very helpful for what I do on a lot of my research.
Okay. I will look into that.
Okay. You're a book coach. And when we're coaching others, sometimes when it's their first book, it's two things. It's about getting the writing done, accountability, but it's, as you said earlier, there's also a little bit of a confidence builder in there.
Yes.
As you start progressing through. So when I'm working with somebody, I said, start with the chapter that you're most familiar with. That's the one you're dying to tell. The rest of them will happen. You don't have to do it in chronological order. So tell us a little bit about your book coaching.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. A new author, especially everyone who has a new project, there's a little bit of trepidation about that new project, right? It might be a new genre for you. It might be a new style of writing. But a new writer doesn't actually know what they don't know. And we've all been there. So a book coach is somebody who can hold your hand through that process, help you make decisions early on, make some plans, figure out what this book is, and walk you through that writing process. And like you say, you don't have to write anything in chronological order. You can do it you can patchwork it, you can quilt it later. There's so many ways to write a book, and what we're doing as book coaches is not telling somebody, this is how I do it and you must do it this way. It's figuring out for each individual what that looks like and helping you optimize the ways that you're approaching things and how your brain works, because not everyone works in the same way I do. They don't have 3 projects on the go all the time. But it's just that confidence building that you can help a writer with, and also developing like those writing skills that maybe you haven't taken creative writing classes, or you haven't really focused on how to use those techniques in the way that you could have. So there's so many things that a coach can do to help you. I mean, we would never put an Olympic athlete out into the world stage without a coach, right? Like, it doesn't matter what level you're at. We all need somebody to, help us get to the next level. So beginner writers can definitely benefit, but I think other writers can too. In fact, I use a book coach when I need one.
Once you started receiving awards, which you've had quite a few, has that changed your psyche a little bit as you're writing a book, saying, okay, I've already gotten awards? Does that kind of permeate any part of your brain?
I don't know. I actually haven't thought of that. That's a great question. I think what it did was gave me confidence, like that the books that received awards, like I felt like I had great reader response about those books, and I felt good about the book that I'd written. But when you receive this external validation, it's like, okay, like it just gives you that, okay, like this good feeling. But at the end of the day, the book writing process is so long. It's such an involved thing. I think what you really, really need to love is the writing. You need to love the process. The holding the book in your hand feels great, and getting an award feels great, and having it launched is great, and going to a book signing feels great. But it's the joy of the work that you spend a year, 2 years, 3 years on a book. That's the part you need to embrace. And that's the part I love so much. So all of the other things are just really lovely. But I mean, I'm always thinking about the next book and wanting to do better and learn more for myself and try something new. And so, I think that's where my head is usually is I'm already into the next book. So receiving the award is like, okay, good. That's lovely.
Last question before we go toward the end of the show. Tell us very briefly about your podcast.
Yes, my podcast is called Women Writing. You can find it on Substack, but also on all the other platforms. And I interview women in the publishing profession, whether it's literary agents or booksellers or authors, doing this work and how they find time to do it. Because I know as I was a mom with kids and a full-time job, and I was trying to write a book about my dad and all the things. So I like to learn about how women can juggle all the things that they're doing in their lives to make these, whether it's they're writing for passion or whether they're writing for a career or selling books or whatever they're doing, and how they integrate that into their lives. So I learned so much from every guest. It's really fun.
Okay. How do people get in touch with you? How do they get on your podcast?
Yeah. So the best. Yeah. So the best way is to come to Liisa Kovala bookcoach.com. And everything is there. Book coaching, my books are there, my cozies are there, a contact form. So yeah, folks can find me through there. My email is there. Everything's under one house because that's who I am. All those things. So feel free to pop on over there and take a look. And there's a contact form that you can get in touch.
Liisa, thank you so very much. I really enjoyed our conversation. As always, just very, very delightful. Especially the historical parts. I think that's super critical, super interesting.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
For our audio audience, will be joining us later on this afternoon, Liisa, Liisa Kovala, Kovala, bookcoach.com. So take care, and we will catch you later on. I look forward to our next one, especially after you get another book or two written, okay?
Thank you.
Red O'Loughlin here. We're wrapping up today's show on the Corner Bookstore. My latest book coming out is called Aging Sucks. It'll be available Saturday, July 4th. And it really talks about what causes aging and what you can do about it. I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. So if you can treat a cause of a problem, you can generally fix it. But if you're just treating symptoms, then the cause is still there and it may or may not go away. Sometimes it gets worse and then you don't know about it until it's really a serious problem. But that's what I do. When I'm not doing that, I also book coach. I also publish books for other people. Publish about 50 books probably total. But that's what I do when I'm not here on the show. My next show coming up is called The Wise Ones. I had a book launch a little over an hour ago on my book, Aging Sucks. I'm going to take a follow-up on the next show and talk a little bit about some of the things that I looked at with regard to how I wrote the book, why I wrote the book, what are some of the lessons learned I had in there. There's quite a few. So that's going to be my focus on the next one. Following that, I have a show called Talking Heads. I'm doing 4 shows today, back to back to back to back. And it's called What Does Health Look Like? Part 2. So please join me, YouTube, more than happy to. And if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, please seriously consider. We would love to have you part of our audience, part of our family. So you go to YouTube and look at USA Global TV and Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Those are the 2 channels on YouTube that we would like to have you subscribe. Take care, y'all, and we'll catch you next time. Bye now.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.